Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of the Disgruntled Geeks podcast. Today, we actually have an interview, which you've noticed, it's just me. It's just Ronnie today. I don't have Ben with me, but we do have a very special guest this week. And before I introduce him, I kind of want to tell a story to you guys so that those that don't personally know me can get a little bit of a better context of some of the people who've been on the show and also of the person that I've got with me today. So you probably heard me mention multiple times that multiple of our guests are people that I've met through TupeloCon. And TupeloCon is just a small convention in our hometown of Tupelo, Mississippi, where I really got involved with it in year two and really took charge in year three of helping to organize the event. And it really afforded me the opportunity to meet a lot of amazing people in a lot of different roles throughout our community and throughout really just the geek community in general, like Ashley Dew that we had a couple of weeks ago. She's actually from Illinois. So I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of really awesome people. And the gentleman that's with me today, I actually met through us wanting to do more with wrestling at the event this past year. And we actually had a big wrestling event at TupeloCon. Things got a little wild. Chairs started getting thrown places. People were getting hit with chairs. We had a dude get thrown off our main stage. It was absolutely amazing. Things you don't normally see at a convention. And really the mastermind behind all of this is the gentleman that I have with me today. And that's Hollywood Jimmy Blaylock. Jimmy, just introduce yourself, my man.
Well, man, I'm glad to be here. You know, the ratings are finally going to go up with me on the show.
We definitely needed it.
Okay, we got to get some ratings on the show. Where's Ben at? Ben should have been here. He makes me sick for not being here. I'm Hollywood Jimmy Blaylock. I'm a wrestling promoter / wrestling manager. I've been in the business for over 25 years. Worked with all the big names: Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Dusty Rhodes, the Moondogs, you name it. I've been working with them probably.
So 25 years. That's a long time. I mean. So is that entire time, have you been doing promoting, or is that mainly just been, is that your manager career?
Actually, just the wrestling manager career. I have just started promoting within the last 3 years. I've had 10 shows, excuse me. I've had 10 shows, and 9 of them has been sold out.
Okay.
So we want to continue with nothing but sold out shows. I'm really proud of that. We've it's that's something that's unusual, but we usually have shows that's it's not a typical wrestling show. It's usually something that everybody, even if you don't like wrestling, you're going to like championship wrestling because we're a little different. We give a little bit of taste of everything, not just wrestling, but I promise you're going to have fun.
Well, that's one thing definitely, with the TupeloCon show, that was a big deal was, it went beyond just being a wrestling event. It bled over into the show. It was Josh Turner, who was a Walking Dead star, who actually wrestled in your event. And he was the one who took the dive off the stage in the middle of the convention. Like, where else do you get that?
Nowhere else, man. And not only that, we use reality stars in with our wrestling. Matter of fact, we had boxer versus wrestler at the last event, and the boxer lost, but yet the referee changed the decision. But I'm upset about that. But I'm telling you right now, if you come to championship wrestling, whether it's in usually we're in the Isla Capri Casino, or we're in Tupelo, we're the Comic Con, make sure you come out. You're gonna have a good time, I promise you. And you don't even have to like wrestling, but I promise you, there's people in the audience never been to a wrestling show, never. But I guarantee you, every one of them said they had a great time. It was fun. I'm coming back.
Well, Jimmy, it's one of those things, and I think that you probably will agree with me on this, is local wrestling is so much different than the junk that gets put on the big stage these days. When you talk about the WWE, I mean, it's made for television and not really for people anymore, if that makes any sense. It's made to look good on the camera, and sometimes that takes some of the fun out of it. Like, what do you guys get to do that's, that kind of brings that fun to wrestling, that people that are so used to this WWE world of wrestling that they don't get to see there?
Well, we're totally different. We are old school wrestling, mixed with the young wrestlers, mixed with the older wrestlers, but we're actually an old school wrestling, not that stuff you see on television. WWE, I couldn't even tell you who's wrestling tonight or tomorrow night, whenever they do it Monday night. I don't watch it. I haven't watched it in years. I don't like it. It's very, it's more or less, what do you call it? A comedy. It's not even entertaining to me no more. I don't like it. You know, we kind of get rough at our events. We kind of get people what they want to see, and not only that, we have the wrestlers, the best talent. If you come to championship wrestling, if you notice, we have the best talent. We don't, you know, we got Dustin Starr, we have Derek King, we have Jerry Lawler, we have Bill Dundee. We have the best. And you know, another thing too, we got the up and rising stars. But we're really selective of who we use at our events. But when you come to championship wrestling, I promise you, you're gonna see the best top entertainment you've ever seen in your entire life.
Well, one of the things that I noticed, and I don't want to, I don't want to like pigeonhole us into talking about the WWE for the next little bit, but one of the things I noticed that you do, Jimmy, that you really don't see a lot anymore in the WWE world is they don't call it wrestling anymore. They just call it sports entertainment. And the fact that you just keep saying wrestling over and over again just makes me happy because at the end of the day, like WWE can't even call themselves the World Wrestling Entertainment on television anymore because of the fact that there's such this taboo around the word wrestling. It's now sports entertainment. What do you think about that movement of sports entertainment?
Well, I personally, and this is my opinion only, I think WWE hurt wrestling. I think it hurt the independent wrestling. And that's why we're trying to give them something, the people something they've never had before. Old school wrestling, because there's still people out there that loves the old school. They love the old feel. And, you know, they love that old environment. And something you would see back on, like Memphis wrestling, for instance. Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee. That was what people loved. That's what I loved. That's what I grew up watching. And that's what you see when you come to our show. You see the old Memphis style wrestling with the young guys, but these are not just young guys. These are guys that knows what to do, and they love old school wrestling also, and they're used to working with the older guys. Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler, you know, the guys who's been around for a while. And, you know, there's Dutch Mantel, Jimmy Valiant, for instance. But, you know, these guys are great, you know, to work together. I try to make it different and try to give us something that people want to see instead of the stuff from WWE that is, I know they get a big crowd, but I don't like it. And there's a lot of people that don't like it. There's a lot of people, you know, I see, hey man, we rather watch your wrestling than watch WWE.
Right.
We're weird. I think we have, you know, that's what people are missing, the old school wrestling.
Yeah. And that's, you know, I think that's very telling. You know, my mother grew up watching Memphis wrestling. She actually grew up in Memphis. Absolutely loved it. That was just part of her weekly routine was getting to watch Memphis wrestling. And my mother's not a wrestling fan. She just absolutely loved their shows. And I think there's something telling in that. When you can get people who aren't fans of something to come to a show, that tells it all. You know, overall, you know, a lot of people aren't fans of reality television, but American Idol gets a huge draw. That's what made it special. And I think that's what makes, you know, something like championship wrestling really special is that you can kind of draw those crowds that normally wouldn't come to that kind of event.
Yeah, and at the last event, you know, we had boxer versus wrestler. And we had the boxing fans there. We had the wrestlers there all together. They kind of yelled at each other. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what I thought was amazing about that, Jimmy, was all of the hype that got built up, not just on the wrestling side of it, but seeing things like, what's the MMA guy's name? There was an MMA guy that promoted.
Yeah, there was Hurley there. You know, Hurley.
Yeah, he promoted he promoted your event on the side of the boxer. And so that like built up even more hype outside of just the hardcore wrestling community. It's just really fun to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, isn't that Sue Hurley, matter of fact. But we had him and we had Jeff Chambers, you know, he's a boxer there here in Tupelo, and, you know, he's tough, no doubt about it. But, you know, he wrestler versus, you know, boxer. It's, you know, I haven't seen that take place since Jerry Lawler versus Rocky Johnson back in the 70s here in Tupelo. That's
Right.
just something you don't see, and something you don't see. And that's Rocky Johnson is the Rock's daddy, who I'm talking about.
Right. Now, I want to ask you a question, and again, you can feel free to tell me that you're not going to answer this question because of the fact that this is kind of a taboo subject to bring up in wrestling. But one of the things that has kind of been lost in the last few years in wrestling is kayfabe. People have completely, it's everything is known because the internet completely destroyed kayfabe. WWE didn't help it. How do you bring some of that magic back with some of your events?
Because we do things that hasn't been done in a long time. We do things, people sit in the audience and they get so angry and they like, oh my God. I mean, they get all their anger out of the events, but we give them something different. Because when we go out there, when my friends, the bad guys, the heels go out, I tell them to get as much heat as they can from the crowd. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
And they get the crowd upset. People start screaming, they start hollering. Matter of fact, some things gets really out of hand and then hey, we're doing our job when it happens.
Right. That's the most fun
But
time right there.
absolutely, and not only that, everybody gets into it. But most people, 99.9% of the people, know not to cross the line. And it's just, but they like to go there and yell. They like to get their frustrations out. They like to yell. They get mad, but they know not to cross the line, and they have a good time. And once it's over, oh my God, we had fun with the family. Blah blah blah. But when we give them something different, we make them, instead of entertaining, we like, oh my God, these people are crazy. These wrestlers are, you know what I mean? And of course, I'm Hollywood Jimmy, and I've got, of course, I've been on the Conan O'Brien show, the Late Night with Conan O'Brien. I've been on the Steve Harvey show. I've been on Tom Green's show, and I use that with Hollywood Jimmy Blaylock character. I use, and you can go look it up online, YouTube it. But we try to use that in with the Hollywood Jimmy Blaylock, because I wasn't going to use that's my real name. Jimmy Blaylock's my real name, and I put the Hollywood in front of it. I didn't want to do it, but I decided to go ahead and do it because I'm on TV all the time. What the heck?
Right. Now it's I tell you what's really amazing is like Jimmy for those that don't know Jimmy, that if you've never met Jimmy personally, like this gentleman is Jimmy, you're one of the nicest people that I've ever met. And then like seeing Hollywood is like the other side of the coin. Like I really want to punch Hollywood in the face. And that's how you tell somebody is good at getting heat, is whenever you can go from being one of the nicest individuals I've ever met to somebody that I just absolutely can't help but despise. So you're definitely good at that.
No, it happens a lot too. I mean, you won't believe. I mean, I did a TV show up in Dyersburg, Tennessee. It was called WOWF, and we did that for 5 years. For 5 years, we was there every Saturday night. But we had people so mad at us in that little town, the Dyersburg area, because we was on television there every week, and they would come out, had a great crowd, but people would get so angry. For instance, one night we went back to the back and we got a microwave out of the kitchen, and we hit one of the good guys over the head with it and started. I mean, and they were so angry. People were outside with crowbars waiting on our little group to come out. So the promoter comes up to us. The promoter comes up to, hey, oh my God, Jimmy, you're going to have to leave early. There's people outside with crowbars. They're waiting on y'all. So I got over. I said, oh my God, you got to be kidding. He said, no, they're out there. And they said they're going to get y'all. And I'm like, oh, why? So we had all the heels walk out at the same time to our car. So they were out there. And of course, we didn't, I don't want to fight. I'm not into that. What in the world is these crazy people doing out here? But we're talking about Tennessee, And so we went out there. We went to the cars. Of course, we argued with them back and forth. They knew they had the crowbars and stuff, but they knew to stay away. They had common sense. Hey, we ain't going to go for those guys. We had a bunch of big guys in our little clique up there. They don't want to, they don't want to come at us. But the promoter was like, oh my God, there's going to be a riot. We're going to get thrown out of the building. But it's just things like that. And I've had knives pulled on me. Oh my God! Wow. In Colorado, Mississippi, having people with knives pulled on me. Of course, it gets pretty serious. You have to get security. You have to have good security, and that's one thing I do believe. I'll ask a promoter. First thing they call, they book me. I said, "Well, do y'all have security?" And they said, I tried. And I said, yes, that's good. Okay, I'll go. I'll work for you. But
Oh wow.
it's too dangerous not to work without security because there's some fans out there that they'll hurt you, and they get crazy on you. I try to stay away from those people, but for some reason they're there, and every event's going to have one.
Right. That's it's like you said, like 99% of people know not to cross that line. That 1% is the 1% that you have to worry about because you never know what that person's going to do. Uh, One of the things that I find absolutely amazing about Hollywood Jimmy Blaylock is the Twinkies.
Oh, oh
And
my God!
I've got to ask you. I've got to ask
Oh,
you.
let me tell you how this crap started. Okay,
Yeah, how did the Twinkies start? Where did it come from?
we were in Memphis, Tennessee, and this happened like last year. We was in Memphis, Tennessee, and we was doing a show, and this guy who's a photographer brought Twinkies to the show. And so when I came out, he threw maybe 4 or 5 Twinkies. It wasn't no big deal. And of course, he gave some Twinkies to the crowd. And they threw them. And of course, I was like, "What are y'all doing? Y'all getting me messed up here? People crazy? I don't eat Twinkies. I'm 198 pounds. I don't eat Twinkies." And I hope you believe that. But anyway, the next night, I went to where was that at? God, on the other side over there, God, somewhere in oh my God, it was in where was that at? Tennessee, somewhere in Tennessee. The next night, I was in another town in Tennessee. God, I can't think where it was at.
You just wait. There's going to be like somebody at your next show that's going to be waiting outside with a crowbar. That's going to be like, that was my hometown.
We went to this little town. The next night, people heard about it on the internet. They seen it happen on the internet because it was filmed and it was shown on the internet, and it got a lot of hits. The very next night, there was over 100 Twinkies thrown at me. It was raining Twinkies. So now the promoters are selling Twinkies, and I don't like it. They're selling Twinkies. They're making a killing off them Twinkies. That makes me, I cannot believe it. Well, now it keeps on, and now I have Twinkies thrown at me everywhere. But I don't eat no damn Twinkie. I've never had a Twinkie. I don't even know what a Twinkie looks like.
It's so great. Another thing, Jimmy, that I find fascinating about the way that you run everything is there are multiple online rivalries. It seems that you have. Like how did that start?
Well, I tell you how it started. I've got some people will notice that they put up Jimmy Blaylock. I got 3 Facebooks. I got one for family and friends. I've got one for wrestling, and it's where I argue with everybody, no matter who you are. Then I've got one for wrestling. It's another wrestling one. Me and Buff Bagwell together, but I don't really argue a whole lot on that one because let me tell you what happened. Okay, this is how it got started. I had my relatives on the one where I argued with people all the time, right? And then I have relatives from Texas and from Alabama. Oh my God, that Jimmy Blaylock's being so rude to people. I'm like, oh, he's calling people fat. I can't believe this. This is our relative. He's embarrassing. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, here we go. Now I take them off of this one. I put them. They want to be on my wrestling one, so I made up this other one I don't hardly go to with the Buff Battle, and then I put them on the family and deleted them from the one I have fun. But actually, I'm on that one, the one I have fun with all the time, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even be on Facebook. But yeah, we argue with people. We have fun with people. And, I got Jason Casey, for instance, and several other people, Brandon Owen Harbor from Memphis. But of course, it's every day we argue with each other. But,
It's so
I
great.
don't. And it's fun too. I don't see nothing wrong with it. And there's a few people that gets in there. I hate you. If I find you, I'm going to kill you, and I have to delete them from Facebook. But
Right.
There's only a few, and I've got probably I don't know, I've got about 40 people I've had actually banned because they get crazy on me.
Yeah, and it's sad that people are that way because it's just an absolute joy whether it's Jason Casey posting about you or you posting about him to just read some of the comment strings between you guys and some of the other people that get involved with it. It's just an absolute joy. But you mentioned something in that I really wanted to hit on because a lot of people think that when you have a public life, it's not until you hit like a Jerry Lawler level of celebrity that it starts to bleed over into your personal life. And I'm basically a nobody. My biggest thing that I've done has been with the convention, and even the involvement that I have with it bleeds over into my personal life, where people will come up to me that I don't know and go, "You're the Comic-Con guy, aren't you?"
Yes.
All the time. And so, how do you deal with that? Like, and what level, do you deal with the crossover in your personal life outside of like what you mentioned with Facebook? But like, how do people interact with you that may have seen you on television that see you out in your personal life? And how do you keep that separated?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you one, for instance, one story just not long ago. I was at Todd's Big Star in Tupelo, Mississippi. There's this guy who goes to wrestling. I was coming out, he was going in. He looks at me and he says, "You're Hollywood." I said, "Yeah." He says, "You need your ass whipped." And I looked at him. I mean, it was for real. He said, "You need your ass whipped." And I looked at him. I said, "Well, does this look like a wrestling show here? I'm up here shopping and I need to go home." But he was real serious. He was like, "You need your ass." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And I hate to run into people like that, but every once in a while you do. But most people, no, like I said, it's just very, very little. But most people, hey, Hollywood, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I love seeing you wrestling. But then you got a few that just, man, they hate me. For instance, I had my car scratched up one night. I was at a wrestling show. I go out and there's my car scratched from one end to the other.
Oh,
I'm like, you
man.
got to be kidding me. And I was so angry. I'm like, man, this is making me sick. It happens occasionally, not often, but I do hate it when people cross that line. I just hate it.
Right. And all that. For anybody that's listening to this, like, if you ever go to a wrestling show, don't be that guy. Like, just don't. If you want to yell and scream and cuss out the bad guy, that's one thing. But don't damage their property. Don't threaten them. Don't do any of that junk. Just be real. Be a fan, but don't get like that. Now, one thing I also wanted to bring up, Jimmy. Tell us a little bit about like Wrestling News Center. Like, I know that's the website that you and is it your daughter that runs that with you?
Yeah, well, we actually got 8 riders from around the Mid South, and we do WrestlingNewsCenter.com. And you go on there where it says the latest news, and it tells you the latest news. As a matter of fact, it gives you all the local news. It gives you the national news along with the local news, but we're the only one that actually gives you good local news. And if we hear something, we report it. If a organization's got a story they want to tell, they tell us. Well, we got reporters from Tennessee, we got them from Arkansas, and we got them from right here in northern Mississippi in Memphis. And it's a very fun, it's a lot of fun. You'll read a lot of different stories on there at WrestlingNewsCenter.com. So keep that in mind. Go to it. We also have a Facebook, and make sure you look us up on Facebook, WrestlingNewsCenter.com. Wrestling News Center, just push in Wrestling News Center, it comes up. And we tell a lot of stories. For instance, I'll give you one real quick. We had one story that almost got us. They said they was going to sue us. Let me tell you this real quick story.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Up in Union City, Tennessee, they had Vader there with night. Vader was there that night, and he treated everybody so mean in the dressing room. He treated all the wrestlers. He was rude with people, rude to the wrestlers, rude to the audience. And anyway, one of our riders was there, and he did an article on it, and he talked about how rude he was, blah blah blah. Well, Vader contacts him and says, "Hey man, I'm going to sue you if you don't take this down." And so I got over and they called me up. He said, "Jimmy, hey, Vader's going to sue us, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "How many witnesses do y'all have?" He said, "Everybody in the dressing room." I said, "They back us up in court, won't they?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Look at here. We're not taking nothing down. If you don't like it, tough.
We're not going to take Hey, that's honest reporting.
Yeah, exactly. And he was rude to people. And, I maybe caught him on a bad night. I've never met the man, so I don't know. But everybody up there who was our friends of mine said he was so rude to people. And, I hate that happened, but, and I know he's passed away now, but I hate that happened. But that's just something that we deal with every day. We'll have wrestlers get mad. For instance, we had a wrestler get mad because he was in jail. And we put it on the news center. And of course, I don't know why they contact me. Even one of my writers do it. And they contact me. "Blaylock, you better take this down." I said, "No, I can't take it down." And take it down. I'm not going to tell my reporter to take it down, but I promise you, if you go there, you'll have a good time seeing what's up to date and all the latest news is at WrestlingNewsCenter.com, and we'll do the local news, and that's something you don't see local.
Right, and I wanted to bring up, and again, this is one of those questions, Jimmy. Don't be afraid to say, you really don't want to answer it. But one of the stories that came out that was really fascinating because I think you guys were like the only ones that really covered it in depth. I know it got a little bit of national attention, but you guys had it covered, and I kind of watched this as the situation developed. And me and you talked about it personally at one point. But can you tell us the story of what happened here a few months back with Scott Steiner with injuring one of the local guys? Because I'm going to tell you, like, what I've seen on the national scale, like, there is no consensus on what happened.
No, he if you look at his record, he's had injured a lot of people, and we were in Amory, Mississippi, and the guy, the referee was telling me about it. He says, "Man, Skyler got mad at him and just threw him, hit his head right on top of his head, and broke his neck." And
Man,
it was really a sad situation. His name was Cameron Valentine, and it was a sad situation. He stayed in one of those braces, like you see where they screw it in your head, they keep your neck in place. He had to wear that for 6 months. It was a sad situation. He had two kids, but he had two or three kids. But it's a sad situation that happened. I hate he got hurt. I was out there when it happened, and I stayed with him, until we had to get him to the back. Of course, I didn't know his neck was broken. He laid down, and his neck was broken. But it was a sad situation, a terrible situation. But let's say the good news is he's a lot better now. He's doctors is going about to release him, so he's doing fantastic, and God was with him, and he's a very religious man, and he got prayed for, and hell, he's doing great, man. I'm just so proud for him. But his name's Cameron Valentine. You can actually look it up on the news center and see the entire story.
right, and I'm telling you, like, having watched the video myself, having read the story, it's pretty gruesome the way that it looked, that it was executed. Man, I'm gonna be honest, and maybe you can't be as honest as I can on this. It's one of those things where I absolutely have abhorred Scott Steiner since the WCW days.
Right.
It's obvious that he juices. It's obvious that he's been on steroids for 20 plus years. And if you just go back and look, even on the professional level, on the national scale, how many people have been injured in matches with Scott Steiner, and the number is staggering. And I don't know if that's because of like what you said, where he gets angry at people, or if he's just really sloppy in the ring. But it just I've never liked the guy. I don't like his in ring personality. I don't like his out of ring personality. And so whenever I heard about it, I was one of those fans that may have been outside of the stadium with a crowbar if I'd have been there. So but at that point, you really hurt somebody. You really hurt somebody really bad. Somebody who had a lot more to lose than what Scott Steiner does. Because let's be honest, even if Scott doesn't have any money, because I think that I've read somewhere that he's struggling now because of bad spending habits. But it's like, you had your shot, you had money at one point, and you've blown it. Now this guy's trying to make a living for his family, and you hurt him because you got mad. It's like, that's not professional at all. So
Yeah, I was very saddened for him because it broke my heart when it happened. I knew something was wrong. I knew it was bad. And then and then you watch the video and you can, oh my God, it's horrible. But look the video up, you can see it for yourself, and you can judge it for yourself. But Cameron, he was down and out, and he worked at, I don't want to say where he worked at, but he couldn't go to work for 6 months. He lost a lot of income. It was sad, really sad.
yeah. While we're kind of talking about some of the more famous stars that you've had interactions with through Scott Steiner, I would like to talk a little bit about Jerry Lawler, because you and Jerry have known each other for years, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been knowing him for a long time. We're I got him on speed dial just in case I need him, but I've been knowing him a long time. We've dealt with each other in the past for years and years and years. Matter of fact, when I tell you how it started when he was in Tupelo down here at the Gardner Ice Building. That used to be they used to be the sports arena right here in Tupelo. And my dad took me to wrestling, and my dad had many strokes, and the doctor told him, Mr. Blaylock, you can't go down to the wrestling no more. They smoke in there, and this smoke is going to. True story, because when you go in there, it's like tons of smoke, and when you got home, you smelled like a big cigarette. It was horrible.
Right.
But then when he realized how bad it was. But anyway, my dad couldn't make it to the wrestling matches no more, and he was very sad about that. And so I got over and I said, I met Jerry Lawler out at the car one time. And I walked up to him. I said, hey, Mr. Lawler, listen, my dad can't go to the wrestling no more. Would you come and see him, one evening? And he says, well, yeah, I'll do that. He says, I tell you what, be here next Friday night. I'll be here early, and I'll come to your house. So I didn't tell my dad because, I just didn't know if he's going to do it or not. So that next Friday night, I was down there, and sure enough, Jerry Lawler told me to get in his Lincoln Continental. Said, come on, get my car, and we'll go see your dad. So here we are driving up to the car. He walks out, and this is Jerry Lawler, like a big movie star back then. He was it back then. He was one of the biggest stars around. He walks in the house. Then of course, my dad was very, very proud to see him, and he hugged my dad. They sit there and watch a little basketball. He drank some sweet tea. And then the neighbors, some of the neighbors seen him come up, and they, oh my God, it's Jerry Lawler in Blaylock's house. Once we left, we had a crowd around, but it was just amazing. And we've been friends ever since, and we've actually known each other for a long time.
And obviously from what you've told me there, you've got a very positive perception of Jerry. And I've actually met Jerry once before, only one time, but I have a very positive perception of Jerry Lawler myself. But like, what's with all of the, and I'm sure you're aware of it, all the reports online of fans that meet him that don't like him? Like, a lot of people say that he's a jerk or that he's rude to fans, and I've never experienced that. Like, where does that come from?
I don't know. Some of these fans you can't please if you go left or right. It doesn't matter. They get mad. This is ridiculous. There's going to be haters out there no matter what. There's going to be people who hate you. There's going to be people who hate me. Of course, now with social media, it's all out there. Of course, if you say you hate somebody, let's for instance, right now I say, I hate Jerry Lawler. I hate his stinking guts. My God, somebody's going to put this all over what do you call it? This will go through the ratings will go through the roof. The people are going to, oh my God, that Blaylock's talking bad about Lawler. But that's what it is. If you say one person says it, then it gets around, blah, 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 blah. I've never seen him be rude to fans. I've never seen that. He's been in my store. He's been in my places. He's been right here. But I'm talking, he's been in my championship wrestling, but he's never been rude to fans. I've never seen that side. And I've been around him a whole lot.
Right. And I want to talk about one thing specific with Jerry that happened in the WWE. And just kind of get your perception on it being kind of in his circle of friends. I'm sure you remember when Jerry had the heart attack on Raw.
I was watching it live. Yes.
And I was actually watching that night myself. I don't watch a lot of wrestling anymore myself, and that was a really scary moment. What was your reaction whenever that started happening?
Well, I seen it happen, and then my family gathered in front of the TV, and no lie, it was very upsetting.
Oh yeah.
It was very upsetting for me to watch him, and I'm like, oh my God, Jerry could die on television here. And then everybody, Michael, the other announcer was talking about, oh my God, this is bad. This is not looking good. Jerry's had a heart attack, and it was really a sad situation and a bad situation, especially knowing him the way I do.
Right.
Of course, I was right when it happened. I got online with his girlfriend, that I knew, and I had her cell phone. I called. I said, "What's going on?" Blah 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 blah. And I kept up with it through that. And of course they had. And what's made me angry? Websites reported him dead.
Yes.
Some of the major wrestling websites reported him dead. And that really made me mad because they're reporting, oh my God, he's dead. No, he's died. I know and I was up there. Of course, we're at WrestlingNewsCenter.com. I was like, no, this is not true. And Lauren, that was his girlfriend back then. And she got, she tells me, hey, get these people straight. He's not dead.
Right.
Of course, I go and tell the truth, and all the other wrestling websites, I'm down in them because they shouldn't have done that. You don't give false reports. You got to be 100% what you're talking about. You don't do that.
Right.
And it was really it's a sad situation, but it was really shocking watching that on television, live television, especially when you know somebody and you know them that well. It was, thank God it came out of it, and it looked great. But it was that night it was shocking to all my entire family.
Yeah, and I think you really, I think you could say that it was shocking for anybody that had spent any time watching wrestling too, because even just being a fan of Lawler's, it was one of those. I will never forget that moment. It is right up there with like where I was on September 11th, 2001 for me. I will never forget how that felt, and I will give kudos to the WWE for the way they handled that situation. I think both WWE and Michael Cole were really professional about it, even though that's a really hard situation to be really professional in.
Yeah, I think Michael Cole did a great job, and they did a job. And a matter of fact, ever since Jerry Lawler's been, they let him off the announce table. I love Jerry Lawler announcing. I thought he was hilarious. It was fun to listen to. That's a lot of reasons I don't watch it no more. It's just, I love that announce team. He done a fantastic job. And now after they got rid of him, I just haven't really cared for it since.
Right. Hey, there's no better announce team than good old JR and the King Jerry Lawler.
They were fantastic. They were fun to watch. I mean, man, you never know what Jerry Lawler was going to say. He's just hilarious.
Oh, he is great. And while we're on the WWE, I want to hit you with something real quick that the WWE's doing, and like just get a promoter's perspective on this, because it doesn't make any sense to me as a fan. If you're not aware, they're the current WWE Universal Champion, which is their belt on their flagship show, Raw. Their current champion is Brock Lesnar. And he comes to maybe one show every 2 months.
Yeah.
How does that make any sense?
It don't make sense. It's just ridiculous. That's why I don't like it. That's because they have people from soap operas that writes their wrestling. Come on, man. This is a soap opera. Come on, just absolutely. That's why I watch it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then I finally got tired of saying, you got to be kidding me. I just turned it off.
Right.
I stopped watching it. I never watch it. I couldn't tell you who's on it. I don't watch it. I don't care about it. And It's not because, it's to me, I love Stone Cold Steve Austin when he had, when he was out there and fighting his boss. Vince McMahon. That was so great. It was so great, man. And then Mick Foley and all that, and the Undertaker and everything. But now it's just, I don't like it. And not only that, the Generation X, I love that. Generation X, I loved all that. But now it's just not what it used to be. It's not fun. Well, when you have fun, I just turn it off.
It seems on that, that large national or international scale that most of the real wrestlers nowadays are going to New Japan or Lucha Underground. And it's like WWE's kind of their last stop when they want to kind of be lazy for the rest of their career. Look at people like AJ Styles, who didn't show up in the WWE till he was in his 40s after having one of the most prolific international careers in wrestling history. Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, and none of these guys are anywhere near the caliber of what they were when they were in Ring of Honor or New Japan.
Totally agree. I totally agree with you.
And that's the thing that really hurts about the WWE is like they take these really good talents and then they water them down, and they're just not. It's not the same. I mean, you go back and watch Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles in TNA, and I don't care what anybody thinks about Impact Wrestling nowadays and where it is, but at their height when they had AJ Styles and Samoa Joe going against each other, you could not find better wrestling in the world.
I totally agree with you on that. It was more exciting, and they had great matches and everything. But just like you said, I loved how you put that. They watered it down. They put so much water in it, it's not enjoyable anymore.
Right.
It's like a liquor. It's like liquor. You put so much water in liquor, and it becomes boring. You're not going to
get a buzz off of it anymore.
I'm like, what is this? I don't even care about this. What is this?
And that's the reason I think right now is the time for people like you and the promoters that are trying to promote actual wrestling, is because people are hungry for that. There's a reason why in the Attitude Era of the WWF that they got the ratings they got, is because they actually pushed wrestling. And nowadays, their ratings are down to the twos and sometimes even the ones because they're pushing, like you said, a soap opera.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And another thing too, let me get this out there. If a lot of people out there listening, hopefully there's at least 3, 4. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't know how many you got, but just joking. But anyway, like I said, if there's people out there listening that want to come to good wrestling, let me give you a date. September the 1st, at the Olive Capri Casino, in Lula, Mississippi. Lula, it's right down the road from Tunica, not far. Lula's got two casinos down there. But come down there September the 1st. That's Labor Day weekend. You have nothing to do anyway. Come on, Labor Day weekend, instead of going to the beach, come on, we're going to go get hot out in the sun. Come down there in the air conditioning, gamble a little bit. Matter of fact, this is kid friendly. You can bring the kids. But September the 1st, we're doing championship wrestling down there. We have Jerry the King Lawler's going to be there. We have Scott Swartz. You know who Scott Swartz is from The Christmas Story?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he's going to be there. We have Josh Turner's going to be there.
Oh, Josh is such a great guy.
Yeah. And Dustin Starr is going to be there. Bill Superstar Dundee is going to be there. We have Derek King's going to be there. We have a great card lined up. And not only that, it's a tribute to Lance Russell. We have, coming in from Florida, Lance Russell's son is coming in to actually to call the match in the main event. So that's kind of cool. And they're going to be there talking about, people's going to be there talking about the Lawler, Dundee, talking about, their stories with Lance Russell.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so make sure you put that on your calendar for September the 1st. And give you a little advice, make sure the tickets go on sale this month. But make sure you get them early because they do sell out. Well, like I said, we've had all these shows down there. They sell out every time.
Right.
Because, we give them, some people love to come to Championship Wrestling. Like I said, you're going to get something different. And we got Scott Swartz, who's actually going to be in Lawler's corner that night. So you definitely want to be there to see what happens.
So I'm going to ask you, are we going to get the Josh Turner, Dustin Starr rematch?
Yes. You don't want to miss it. September the 1st. It's going to happen. Josh is upset at what happened to him. And yes, they are going to be a rematch right there. And they are the semi-main event of the night.
And I'm going to tell you, guys, from personal experience, Dustin Starr versus Josh Turner is a big deal. That was such an amazing match at TupeloCon. Those guys put everything out there during that match, and it really, really showed. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to have to be there, Jimmy. I'm going to have to.
Absolutely. Make sure you have plans to be there. Like I said, tickets go on sale on, I know, the 1st of August. But make sure you go there. It's going to be September the 1st. It's bell time at 7:00. The meet and greet starts at 5:30, so make sure you get there a little early. But usually they have a ton of money to give away. In the casino, they usually do they have a great buffet down there. Don't you dare say I go to the buffet, but of course I don't eat the buffet.
Do they have Twinkies on the buffet?
Oh, no. But I tell you, they got a steakhouse down there. Oh, my gosh. Get there early. They got the best steakhouse I've ever put in my mouth. But make sure you get there early. It's a lot of fun at the Olive Capri Casino in Lula, Mississippi, right there at the Hernando Bridge, right there at the, it's Hernando. Well, I guess that's what you call it. But Lula, Mississippi, just a little ways down from Tunica.
Okay. Hey, well, Jimmy, I think that's about all the time that we have for now. And it's a perfect way to end. Just get, promote the show that you've got coming up. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping maybe me and Ben can show up and maybe we'll do something special for you.
Where's Ben at? Where's Ben at? I don't know where he's at tonight. He had something to do important. Did you tell him I was going to be on the show?
I told him, man.
Oh, he's had it now. You just wait. I'm going to slap him in the face next time I see him, dead gummit. He didn't on the show. I don't appreciate that.
There we go. Hey, you might have that chance in Lula because we're going to try to be there, my man.
But tell Ben he's had it. When I see him, I'm going to give him a slap. I'm going to start practicing the slapping right now, but he's going to get slapped across the jaws.
I could just see him showing up with a Twinkie now and like throwing it
Oh,
at
he's
you.
had it.
Yeah.
I hope he does because he's had it. He should have been here tonight, but that's okay. We didn't miss him anyway. Bye, Ben. We don't miss you. Forget it.
Right. Well, Jimmy, definitely appreciate you, man, and just the passion that you bring to something that I love. That means a lot, man.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope everybody had fun listening. And thanks again, brother. Appreciate it, Ronnie.
So for all of our listening audience, guys, we definitely appreciate you guys listening. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you if you're a wrestling fan and you've heard any opinions from me that, or even from Jimmy that you disagree with, go on Facebook, comment. We will feature your opinions on the show. We've actually got one from last week's show that we're going to feature when we do the actual episode for this week. So that's your way to get your voice heard, is tell us where you think that we're wrong. But until, later on.
Me wrong? Me? Hollywood Jimmy? No, I'm never wrong. You're not. What are you talking about?
So you better watch out. If you put something on the Facebook page, comment that you think Jimmy was wrong on something, he might just come after you now.
Oh, there's trouble. There's trouble, and the Hollywood clique will be behind me too. I promise.
Right. So, guys, until later on this weekend when we have the regular episode, make sure to keep your eyes out for the Disgruntled Geeks podcast, the most honest, critical, and sometimes cynical podcast you will ever hear.